original building was a 1914 construction, so of course all the materials and the methods of constructability, which involves the renovation to the existing and then a new addition and a huge seismic upgrade. We're in the Roper Gym and we have 2 shear walls going up inside the gym here. So we're at shear wall number 8 now, and the footing has been poured. We're on to the next stage of starting the shear walls going up. And some innovation that was used here with respect to pushing the schedule ahead and helping out the cost and the actual constructability of how we get in here and actually pour these walls is we've gone from the concept of a conventional forming system where we would have a form formed up on the outside and they would have to pour from the next floor down in order to get the concrete in there. And what's been approved is to shotcrete these walls. So they'll come in with a pump and they'll hold on to a nozzle and they'll shotcrete the concrete onto the wall, getting in behind all the rebar and then finishing it. And it sets up as you go. So they'll be able to do the whole wall in that respect. And they're going to do that in a number of areas throughout the project. Some of the new features I think that I've seen in the design that are really good is the observatory. There's going to be an outdoor classroom garden area. It's an indigenous garden and observatory, so it's going to be an outdoor space that is used. So that's a great feature. This excavation, it's a huge excavation, huge footing that's going to go in here. And so we have some underpinning that's going to be, like 2.5 meters high underneath all these existing walls of the existing school. So again, another technical challenge. The east side stairwell, so it acts as a stairwell and as a seismic restraint for the building. But we had to underpin this whole wall under the existing footing. So we had to do it in stages. You see this numbers on the wall there, 1, 2, 3. So you would pour 1 and then 3 and then 5. So we're wanting to replace the broken pieces of terracotta. So we're trying to replicate the exterior look of the terracotta and patch in these pieces. So you can see we took 5 different areas and then we put in this one here is a new replication of the existing. So Jim was talking about on the second floor trying to restore the second floor to as original as possible. So all the corridors have this flooring called rakeless flooring. It was an old concept similar to a cementitious type of floor. And like all the floors in the old building, they all got covered over, but we're doing a test patch here to see if it's going to be viable to restore the original floor on the second and hopefully the third and fourth corridor floors. Okay, well, we're progressing. We're starting to see some of the rebuild starting to happen and getting out of all the demolition and prep work and structural work, and we're getting to a point now where now and moving forward we're going to be on to the rebuild. And now we're at the stage where we're about 80% complete of completing the drag struts on every floor. And the drag struts are these infilled concrete beams with steel going along and Nelson studs connecting the steel with the concrete. And the concept is when there's shear force happens in an earthquake that the drag struts catch some of that shear and they drag it back to the shear walls. The shear walls now for the old 1914 portion of the building are all built up almost all the way to the top of the 4th floor. We've got shear walls 4, 5, and 6 that have 1 more floor to go, but the rest of them, all these walls that are approximately 14, 16 inches thick and as long as you can see, they go up through each floor all the way up to the top of the building. And as I said before, then these drag struts that go through the different floor systems, both parallel to the floor joists and perpendicular around the outer edge, that drags all the force into these shear walls. This is where we were, last time you were here, we were excavating down and doing all the underpinning in this area, and it's all been built back up now. We have our concrete slab, and then this is all, on this side is all our new northeast stair tower and our new addition, and the tie-in coming in here, and we're building up, and as we go around you'll see that it's progressing now up to the second, third floors, and the stair tower, the new stair tower on the west is also progressing. And you can see we've got, coming from the boiler room, we've got some of the rough-in piping starting to happen on our rebuild, and that's coming over to this area here is a new gender-neutral change room for the gyms. Yeah. This is an example of the drag struts, and this is where the existing floor system and joists come in perpendicular to a wall. When you look at all these little cutouts from floor 1 all the way up to the attic, there's actually 5,000 of those cutouts that had to be cut out for all this drag strut installation. We have in this room here, we have an example of these drag struts that are now completed. So the concrete's been poured, and we're ready to go on to the next stage. We're on level 2 now. We're trying to restore level 2 back to the original heritage, and so we're going to be restoring the flooring and all the upper bulkheads and upper cornices. So along the corridor here, because with the drag strut work, we had to demolish all of these bulkheads all the way down the side and going across. So all the bulkheads we did a mock-up here, and all the bulkheads will be built with steel stud and drywall bulkhead, and then we did mock-ups using wood and using plaster, and to see what would work best and what would be most cost effective to rebuild. So we're really happy to be able to restore all the egg and dart cornice and the trims back into an original plaster mold. The seating in the auditorium, they're old original seats, and some of them need a bit of upgrading, and so the architects are going through doing a survey inventory of them. We'll try and put some funds towards upgrading some of the seats that require it. The last time you were here, there were these clay tile walls through here. There was a clay tile where the shoring is there. There was a clay tile shaft for the mechanical, and all those clay tile walls and shafts, part of this seismic upgrade was to get rid of those because they're a falling hazard in an earthquake. And so they've all been demolished. So as you see, it's big open space now. We're here now up on level 4. Behind me there is shear wall number 1 and shear wall number 11. And they're finished up to the very top now and capped off with sheet metal. We are restoring all the jambs and sills around the windows, and then the window sashes and the 9-pane on the top and the pull on the bottom. They'll all be replaced and look exactly like the originals, but will be upgraded with the thermal units where we have 4 mil glass and then the airspace argon filled, and then 4 mil glass again. So a big upgrade with the energy efficiency and maintaining the heritage values of the school. So the existing entryways, both sides and the south, there's going to be some upgrade to that, and then all the entranceways are going to be cleaned, and the terracotta pieces are going to be replaced and refurbished. Skyward ledges are going to be cleaned up and waterproofed, and there's going to be some brick repointing. The terracotta window ledges are going to be refurbished along with the windows. Okay, so we're at the northeast portion of the project now. This is the new NLC building portion, and this is the outside corner of the footprint of what's going to be our new NLC building. And in behind it will be the multi-purpose room for the community and the school to use both. And behind that, the new stairwell that is part of all the seismic upgrading of the school. Okay, so both of our contracts for the exterior work, the terracotta refurbishment and the historic windows, are underway now, and we're progressing from the west side of the building around the building, and the scaffolding is set up now on the west side, and the work is probably about 90% complete on this side. With the terracotta replacement blocks, we've identified the worst breakage blocks, and we're using a local supplier to replicate the look of the terracotta block. And there's an example of one that's been removed, and it'll be replaced with a replica. And this is an example of where our CMU block work has started in the non-gender change room in level 0. Challenges was in solving the water problems of infiltration into the building. We had to put a perimeter drain, and rather than doing all the excavating outside where we'd run into a lot of unknowns, we're trenching around the perimeter on the inside and putting a perimeter drain that will drain the water down to a sump over in the corner in the southwest. Here's an example of a wall where you see the brick in behind, and the plaster has fallen off. So if you look down this wall, all this has been restored plaster work that has to happen on all four floors, going around the outside of the building and down the corridor portion of the interior wall. So now our rough-in is progressing with our partition walls, our mechanical ducts and sprinkler system and electrical rough-in, and we're progressing from the northwest going around the school. Just from our demolition and restoration work, we had to have shoring up in the whole building, and so we were able to take it down on the northwest, and so we're progressing. We've got approximately a year now to finish from this stage to a finished product for the kids to go back into school. Putting in steel stud partitions wherever an opening comes up, we're getting a jump as much as we can and putting them in, and so it means a little bit of jumping around for the steel stud contractor, but we're pushing for the schedule. So one of the challenges is the existing flooring system, support system. We're trying to keep as much weight off of that flooring system as possible. So we had to put in a uni-strut system that's welded to the new drag struts. And from there, channels going lengthwise, and that's to support the T-bar ceilings and the mechanical and the electrical, and so that it's all supported off the structure rather than the flooring system. All this metal work is new, so they had to bring in all the metal work through this door, in place, welded up inside here, and it's very, very dry, a lot of wood, so we had to make a lot of fire protection procedures in place while doing this work. The skyward ledges are any of the ledges that face up to the sky on the top. We are going to be putting a new metal cladding covering over it and doing all the repointing of the masonry so that there's no water ingress that gets in behind the brick and the terracotta all the way down the structure. This is an example of the old fir flooring, and in most of the school it's coming out. There's 7 rooms there where we're saving the fir flooring and keeping it restored. And there's an example of this room here where we've got it covered up just so that it doesn't get marred and damaged too much. So from the center shear wall to the outside all the way around the building on all 4 floors, due to all the unforeseen, we had to take out the existing fir flooring, and we're rebuilding with the sleepers underneath and then the plywood and then plywood underlay all the way around 4 floors. We're now standing on the outdoor deck of the outdoor learning space. So a beautiful view all the way around the city. This is the entryway into the Learning Commons, and there's going to be a couple of big pivot doors here, and the panels will be carved, First Nation carved panels on the doors. And then shelving, and then all through this back part will be all tables and whatnot with clear glass curtain wall all the way around.
Oh, wow.
So nice space. Coming the Fernwood entrance coming into the school, we're going to have inlaid in the concrete here, and coming up, there's going to be five canoes with paddles that are associated with the canoes that can be installed when there's a function on. And then on the lower plaza, just down here, there's going to be a spindle whorl, and it's a Butch Dick piece of art that will be embedded into the plaza. And so when people are using the multi-purpose room space, if it's in summertime with good weather like this, they could have a performance going on down in the lower plaza, and then the stairs and the seating coming up to the upper plaza is designed where people can sit and watch a performance on the lower plaza.